James, you're a member of our church.
I am,
Park?
yeah. We live on North Isle Estate. We've been part of Christ Church Orchard Park 2 and a bit years.
Yeah, and we put up with these scallies down the front.
Well, they put up with you and me. Or
Good. I want to dig deep into the pockets of your childhood, hopefully not in a too heavy way, but we've been talking about the return of Jesus tonight, and I'd love to hear growing up, whether you had any church connection growing up and things like that, but even from childhood, what the return of Jesus meant to you, what that felt like, what that looked like in your life.
Yeah, so I did grow up surrounded by Christianity, which I guess I think is a great thing. It's a good thing. I'm grateful for it. But I can relate to. I know what you're talking about when you talk about the return of Jesus being like a ton of bricks in your front garden. I think it did feel like that to me. From a fairly young age, I thought I was scared stiff at the thought of Jesus coming back. I was telling Rob earlier, and he said, "Make sure you put this bit in." That I was lying awake in bed one night. I don't know exactly my age. Maybe about 8, 9, 10, somewhere there. So you'll laugh at me in a moment. That's fine. But lying awake, and through a crack in the curtains, I could see a really bright light. And I thought, this is it. He's coming back. And I was terrified. And you're laughing at me now. This is serious. I thought, wow. I'm very, very fortunate I've got this kind of preview that most people ain't going to have, because I can see him coming. But Jesus is coming back now. It's so bright, it can't be anything else. And anyway, eventually, I prayed lots. I was terrified. I knew I wasn't ready for him. I didn't really know what it meant to be ready for him. But I prayed like mad anyway. And eventually, I suppose I went to sleep. But in the morning, it was daylight, and in the daylight, you can't see the moon quite so easily as you can in the night. But at the time, I was terrified. That's kind of a measure how terrified I was about Jesus' return. That doesn't mean I went about every minute of every day thinking, help, he's about to drop on me like a ton of bricks. I guess I was kind of familiar with a lot of Christian things, not that I really understood them particularly well, but I was familiar, and then sometimes they felt heavy on me as well.
That's fascinating, because I honestly don't think I meet some people, but I meet most people that I meet tend to, and this would be my childhood, kind of live for today mentality. But to actually have a concept of Jesus' return, even from childhood, is massive. Let's go forward a little bit then from childhood into your conversion. Like you are a Christian, I know that for a fact. And so you believe in the return of Jesus. But how do you get to that point of conversion?
Again, the return of Jesus was a feature in there. So just after I'd done my GCSEs, I started going to a youth club 4 or 5 miles away. I grew up in a Norfolk village. You can probably detect the Norfolk accent now. But I went to a youth club in the town, and just for a few weeks, there was a guy talking about some of the things that it says in the Bible are going to happen when Jesus returns, and looking at some of the Bible passages about that. And I guess that kind of brought to the surface a lot of the things that had been bubbling below the surface in my mind for a long time. Just, I'm not ready. I don't know what it means to be ready, but I'm not ready for this great big event, and it's going to be terrible. And I'm not sure about many of the specifics of what was said, but it really came home to me over those few weeks. This is serious. I've got to take this seriously. And it was, I can't pin it down to an exact day, but it was around then that a lot of the truths, the Christian truths that I'd been growing up all around me, they started to slot into place. So I think it was then I understood, just basic truths of Christianity about actually I can be right with God instead of just terrified of him because of Jesus and what he's done. I'd heard bits and pieces of it, but it was too easy just to be familiar with it rather than try and think it through. How does it actually make sense? And it was around then I became a Christian. Christianity made sense to me then, but I was driven to it again by really being made to think hard about Jesus' return.
Brilliant, thank you. So that's kind of how you became a Christian and the impact of the return. of Jesus. One thing I'll say about James, he won't say about himself, but you just meet an array of different people who've become Christians. We've been hearing the stories. Some grow up in church, some have come from a completely unchurched kind of background. Some people, like me, are very unintelligent, and some people like James are very intelligent and have thought through lots of the big questions, which I think is helpful, isn't it? Some people think you've got to blow your brains away to become a Christian. James is one of those people I look at and go, he's thought stuff through, which is brilliant. I just wanted to say that about you, James.
It's nice of you, Rob, because you've already said that I'm the kind of guy that you look at and it makes you feel like you're really good.
Yeah.
So I guess you've got to set the score a bit more even.
I realised I'd bullied you a bit, so I had to say something nice. But it is actually true, as well as something nice to counteract my bullying. But let's just finally move forward. So we've gone childhood, conversion. What about currently now? The day I talked about earlier from the Bible, the day of judgment, Jesus' return, as a terrible day and also a great day. For you now, return of Jesus, is it terrible? Is it great? Is it both? And why or why not?
That's a good question, isn't it? I think it will be a terrible day, like an awesome day. And yeah, I am looking forward to it because I know that I'm not scared of Jesus who's going to return. It will be like a ton of bricks, but they're not on me and any of God's people.
Why not? Okay,
because the judgment has already fallen on Jesus at the cross. And that's a central truth of Christianity, isn't it? I think you've heard that lots of times. But so I'm not scared. I'm not fearing God in the way of fearing what He's going to do to me. But He is still much bigger than me and much more powerful than me. So yeah, when Jesus comes and we see Him like He really is, I think that will be serious and awesome. And I don't think terrible is a bad word to use there either. I'm not terrified of that day, though. So I'm not the same as I was from the first 16 years of my life, sort of, help, when is this ton of bricks going to land on me? I do look forward to Jesus' return. I think it puts a lot of things in the right place as well. I suppose a bit like, there you go, you like this as well, thinking about the day when you die, that puts a lot of things in the right place. Well, actually, thinking about Jesus' return, that puts a lot of things in their right place even better. So, yeah, I don't have the world's most high-flying job. Actually, even if after I die, people look at my life and think, well, that wasn't very impressive. When Jesus returns, that really won't matter at all. And I think that's very reassuring. Actually, it puts a lot of things in their right place. Yeah, I don't know whether I'm going to have a long life on this earth or a short life, but it doesn't really matter when you put it against the return of Jesus and the life to come after that. So, yeah, you asked me a simple question. I think I gave you a long answer, really, but it's
packed with good stuff, though.
I'm not terrified, though I'm sure it will be in some ways a slightly scary day. But I'm actually looking forward to it, and I think that's the right way for a Christian to think about Jesus' return. But you can educate me a bit more.
Will there be lots of light? Like through your window? More light than that, probably.
Even more than the sun reflected off the moon. It'll be, yeah.
The question was for the camera, will there be lots of light? James's answer.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, James. Appreciate that. Really helpful to hear a bit of your personal story, but also a bit more food for thought for us as well. Thank you. Cheers, then.